All right, section 5.2, the fundamental theorem of algebra. And actually, I'm not sure how, but I basically covered all of this already. So hopefully this is just kind of a repeat of the last video. So again, we're going to work on finding all the rational roots, the possible zeros, and then applying the fundamental theorem of algebra, which basically tells you, look at your degree. That'll tell you how many solutions you should get for that equation. So, for example, here's how the fundamental theorem works. You can read it right here. If f of x, I'm assuming if it's a function, is a polynomial with a degree of n, then the polynomial has n number of roots. So, in example number 1, my degree is 2. That means there are 2 roots. Now, something to keep... Whoa. That was a bright color. Something to keep in mind here. So another name for roots would be solutions, zeros, and intercepts. So it would be the 4 common. So don't let that throw you off as it says, hey, find all the intercepts, find all the solutions, find all the roots, find all the zeros. It's all the same thing. Same thing here. If my degree is 5, that means it'll have 5 roots, 5 solutions, zeros, intercepts. So like I said, we basically already have done this using the calculator to help, listing all the possibles. So this one's really no different than what we've done. This one, though, I'm going to go ahead and list all the possible zeros because we got a heck of a list going for this one. So go back, and I'm going to have you do example number 2. It's the exact same thing as we did, except, like I said, you're going to get 3 solutions. That's the fundamental theorem. And that's basically the only new thing here. So example number 3, we're going to jump down to here. We have to list all the possibles. So here we go. Like I said, this is going to be a heck of a list. So we'll start by labeling it as possible. Then we're going to list all the factors of 16. So 1, 2, 4, 8, and 16. Those numbers are all... Those are numbers you can divide 16 by, and it's always going to be plus or minus, because you can divide 16 by positive 1 or negative 1, and so on. Okay, that's on the top. On the bottom, we have the factors of negative 3. So what can we divide negative 3 by? Well, plus or minus 1, plus or minus 3. Those are the only options. So here's where it kind of gets gross. We need to actually divide and clean this up. So we'll start here. 1 divided by 1 is 1. 2 divided by 1 is 2. 4 divided by 1 is 4. 8 divided by 1 is also just 8. And 16 divided by 1 is 16. So you divide them all by 1. Oh gosh, now I don't know. Can I get rid of all of those? All right. That was easy. Some serious skill there. Okay, but now we have to go back through and do the exact same thing for 3. So we got to take 1. Oh, I erased 1 though. Spoke too soon. Take 1, divide it by 3. And so we're going to keep adding on to our list here. So that would just be 1/3. Again, it's always plus or minus. I'm really just taking 1 divided by 3. 2 divided by 3 is just that, 2/3. Gee whiz, I'm going to have to jump down below here. 4 divided by 3 is 4/3. 8 divided by 3 is just 8/3. 16 divided by 3 is 16/3. So going back to what I said about the last video, if you refuse to use a calculator, what you'd have to do is set up synthetic division, and then you'd start with positive 1, and then try to divide and get 0. If you don't get 0, start again with negative 1. If you don't get 0, now we're on to 2. And so you imagine how long that would take for, let's see, we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20 possible answers. You'd have to take all that time to get through all of those until you find all the possible or the actual zeros. That's not worth it. So if you have a graph, use it. We're looking at this graph. It says that 2 is a solution. So we can go ahead and just write that one down. That was easy. We also know that, oh wow, 4 is a solution. So that was easy. We're going to have to find that bad boy, though. So again, we are going to have to do synthetic division. So we'll go ahead and set this up. So -3, 20, -36, and 16. And because you know that 2 and 4 are solutions, you can use either one. I'm going to use 2 because it's smaller, which means, again, I will get 0 here. I'm feeling pretty confident about that. So let's go ahead and do synthetic division. 14 times 2 is 28. Add them up, we get -8. -8 times 2 is -16, and there we go. Feeling pretty good. That means 2 is a solution. Can confirm. All right, so that means we are left with -3x squared now, plus 14x minus 8 equals 0. So you could, you could factor that. That's perfectly fine. You could use the quadratic formula. Perfectly fine. I would not suggest completing the square, and the square root method will not work. So you have options. But I want to show you something else here. I already found one answer. I know another answer. So if I really, I don't like those, I really like synthetic division. I personally do, more than the quadratic formula if I can somehow find a way to not use it. And here's what I can do. I can set up another synthetic division problem made up of these coefficients now. Okay, and this time I'm going to use 4 because I know 4 is an answer. I haven't used it yet. And again, that means I should get 0 here. So this only works because I looked at my graph and I knew 2 of my 3 possible answers. So let's go ahead and do synthetic division, see if this works. -3, perfect, so that's -12. Add them up, you get 2. 2 times 4 is 8, so I get 0. All right, so that confirmed 4 is an answer. Again, I only can do that because I knew 2 of these from my graph. So what does that leave me with? Well, I went from a quadratic, now I'm going to have a linear, so -3x plus 2 equals 0. And what that does for me is it gives me something much easier to work with. So I can subtract 2, -3x equals -2, divide by -3, and x equals 2/3, which is what that would be, but because it's not a nice point, I can't just guess based off my possible solutions. So there you go. Just want to show you something else. When you use your graph, you see 2 answers. I mean, just keep doing synthetic division if you don't really feel like doing the quadratic formula at this step or factoring. That works as well. Couple more here, but again, nothing is new. So I'm just gonna have you. I'm gonna have you do 2, 4, and 5. Make sure you list all the possible roots first. Don't just jump right into graphing and stuff. We got to get used to listing those possible roots first.